Hello everyone. Today we're learning mציעא daf lamed hey. But in yesterday's video, it got cut off in the middle, so I'm going to go back from where it got cut off on daf lamed daled amud base. So we were holding in the case of Shah mina isha v'shilim lebaylo mai, and isha sheshala v'shilim baylo mai. So the shaila is, we had a whole list of shailas in 13 cases where you paid half, or you paid one shutuf, etc., or you kind of the kefel or not. So the last two shailas are the followers. Ish shal min isha v'shilu lebaylo. He borrowed a cow or item from a woman and it got stolen, and then he paid to the husband. Is it the woman being makneh this guy the kefel or not? And a woman who borrowed and it got lost or stolen, and then a husband paid, is the person who got paid by the husband makneh the kefel to the woman or not? Because when the ganev's caught, and all these shailas that we had also before, the Gemara says, Teiku tishbi yetaretz kushis v'bois mirabi ameinu amein. Omar Rav Huna. Rav Huna says, Mashbim oisa shvua sheina b'rsushay. That we make, even though in the Mishnah we said that the person could pay instead of making a shvua, and then he's kind of a kefel, but we still make him make a shvua sheina b'rsushay. My taima chashima chashinon shema einov nosen bo. We'll choishesh, maybe very good he wants to pay, maybe really never got stolen or lost, and he just wants to buy this item by force type of thing. He says it's lost, then he's going to pay, and he's going to keep the item to himself. That's why we make him make a shvur, even though that he's paying, that it's not in his possession. Now I'm going to read the Gemara, this whole sugya, and then I'm going to explain outside. Meitzivei. Amar das chaver al amashkoin ba'ovad amashkoin. Ba'omar loi. Selo el visicho lo shekelo yeshove. V'aloi omer loi ki elo selo el visani olov selo yeshove pota. Selo el visicho lo shekelo yeshove. V'aloi omer loi ki elo selo el visani olov shloisha dinarim yeshove. Chayev. Selo el visani olov beso yeshove. V'aloi omer loi ki elo selo el visicho olov selo yeshove pota. סלל וסינו לו שניים ישווה, ולא יאמר לא כי אלו סלל וסיכו לו הדינורים ישווה. חייב. מנשבע מי שהפיקודן אצלו, שם הישוב הזה ויועציע לו את הפיקודן. אילי מה הסעיפה ותיפו כלי לשבור גבי מלוי, לא כמו ידימיצה סטיינה, אלו משמור לרישה. מה הרישה? הסעיפה דרישה. סלל ושיחו לו שקל לא ישווה, ולא יאמר לו כי אלו סלל וסיניו לו שלושה דינורים או ישווה חייב, תשבו גבי לא יבהו, ואומר רבונו לשתה במל בשם הישוב הזה, ויועציע לו את הפיקודן. So I'm going to explain this. So first we have to understand some currency issues. One seller is worth 2 shekel. One seller is worth 4 dinar. How much is 1 shekel worth? 2 dinar, obviously. That's the first thing. Now the case is talking about over here, we have a loiva who borrowed money, Shimon, and a malva, the one who gave the money, Reuven. And in all the cases, everyone agree, Reuven and Shimon, that the loan was of a seller. The whole shaila was how much the pikodin that Shimon gave Reuven a deposit, like a guarantor for this loan. Let's say he gave him a watch. How much that watch was worth? So what happened? Reuven gave Shimon a seller, and now Shimon gave Reuven an item to keep. If I don't pay back, you can take this item. Now this item got lost, got stolen. It's not by Reuven anymore. So Reuven loses that value of how much a mashkin was connected the loan. So let's say if the watch was worth a seller and the loan was a seller, so it's equals, no one has to pay anyone. If the watch was worth less, let's say 1 shekel, so Shimon still has to pay 1 shekel. And if the watch was worth more than the alba, so now Reuven, the malva, has to pay Shimon. So now the Brisa says 4 cases. Case number 1 is where Reuven is tovel Shimon, and he says, I gave you a seller, and the mashkin was worth only 1 shekel, half the loan. And Shimon says, no, the mashkin was worth also a seller, so I don't owe you anything. In that case, he's potter because he's koif hakoil. That's case number 1. Case number 2, Reuven comes to Shimon in the same time. I lent you a seller, and the mashkin was worth only a shekel, so you pay me a shekel. In this case, Shimon agrees that the mashkin wasn't worth like the whole loan, but he says it was worth 3. And therefore I only owe you not like you saying, Reuven, I owe you 2 dinner, I owe you 1 dinner. So then he's moide mitzvahs and he's chayav. Case number 3, the loiver Shimon is claiming Reuven that the mashkin was worth more. So he says, Shimon tells Reuven, I got from you a seller, I gave you a watch worth 2 sloim. Let me just check that I'm saying it right. Yeah, and so therefore you owe me a seller. And Reuven says, no, the loan was a seller and the mashkin was a seller. I don't owe you anything. He's koifa koil potter. And then the last case, again, Shimon, the loiv is tiveh the malva, and says the pikodin was worth double of the alva, was worth 2 sloim. But in this case, he's moide b'miktas, and he says, no, was worth 8 dinarim. And therefore, I don't owe you a seller. I only owe you 3 dinarim. In that case, it says chayav. Now, because he's moide b'miktas. Now, the Brisa continues and says, who needs to make the shvur? The one who the pikodins by him. That means who is the pikodin by? By the malva, by Reuven. Why is that? Because if Shimon's going to make the shvur and say how much the pikodin was worth, so maybe Reuven's going to suddenly pull it out from his house and say, oh, look, it's worth otherwise than what you said. Therefore, we put the shvur on Reuven, that Reuven should make the shvur, that he can't pull it out afterwards. On that, the end of the Brisa, on that the Gemara asked, in what case is that going and telling us that Reuven needs to make a shvur, that it's a chiddush, or Reuven needs to make a shvur, not Shimon? If it's going on the sefer where Shimon's tiveh Reuven and Reuven's moide b'miktas, obviously Reuven the malva needs to make the shvur. He's the one who's moide b'miktas. There's no chiddush. On that, Shmuel says it's going on the reisha. What case of the reisha? The sefer of the reisha, whether the din of moide b'miktas, where Reuven the malva is tiveh Shimon that the mashkin was worth less. And Shimon's moida, but he's not moida that it was worth as less as Reuven says. Reuven says, you owe me 2 dinner, and Shimon's moida, they owes 1 dinner. So really Shimon has to make a shvur because he's the one moida miktas. On that the Brisa says, no, Reuven is the one who makes the shvur. Because if Shimon's going to make the shvur, maybe Reuven's going to pull out this watch, a smashkin, and prove Shimon wrong. Says the Gemara, until here we understand the Brisa of Shmuel is explaining where the case going on. Here the kasha comes. Being Isa the Rav Huna, if Rav Huna is correct, let's read the inside and I'm going to explain afterwards outside. Being Isa the Rav Huna came in the Mishtab Malva, Sheda Berushusoy, Echi Mati Mapiklo, Omarova, Shesh Edim Sinrishufa, Yochi Mechi Maisilo, and Omar Vyektsev, Shesh Edim Shenignevo. Sorry, soif meiche maisilo. The Torah maisilo. Yochi komishtaba mal v'nami litrach loivu leisi. Bishlema mal v'yodaman ko'ayl v'nofek b'beisa v'ozo v'torah maisilo. Elo loiva mi yodaman ayl v'nofek b'beisa malve. By Omar, vera shema itoim v'ema loi achar shvur motzosio. Rashi Omar, זה נשבע וזה נשבע, זה נשבע שני רשוסו וזה נשבע כמה ישוב ואוכי כמה מי נשבע תחילו. So the Gemara says, if it is Brisa, we have a kasha Rav Huna, because Rav Huna said that every person who has a pikodin and the pikodin is lost, even though that he's paying, like in the case of the Brisa that he loses the loan connected the pikodin, he still has to make a shvur she'enu b'reshusay because maybe he wanted this specific item and we mechayev him to make the shvur. So if Rav Huna is correct that you have to make the shvur, why did the Brisa say that Reuven is the one whom, even though that Shimon is a moide b'miktas and the reisha, even so Reuven has to make the shvur how much the value of the mashkin was because we're choishish maybe he'll be moide the pikodin and prove Shimon wrong. How is that shaykh? if Reuven needs to make a shvur she'eino b'reshusoi because he's a shoima, and every shoima, even though that he's paying, he needs to make a shvur she'eino b'reshusoi. So what the chashash shema yotzi alo esapikadon? He made a shvur she'eino b'reshusoi. That's a kasha of the Gemara. The Gemara says on that 3 terutzim. Teretz number 1, Rava says, it's talking about, you know why Reuven doesn't make a shvur she'eino b'reshusoi? Because we have eidim that the item's burnt. On that, the Gemara asks the obvious question. So if so, what's the chashasha? He'll be moitzi it after Shimon will make a shvur and prove Shimon wrong. It's burnt. Says Rabbi Yosef, and this is what Rava meant. It goes together. No eidim shenisra fathers, eidim that got stolen from Reuven, and therefore Reuven doesn't have to make a shvur she'eino b'reshusoi. Says the Gemara, okay, soif, where are you going to bring it from? If we have eidim that it's lost, that it's stolen from him. So the Gemara, we're choishish Reuven's going to go and catch a ganev and bring it and prove Shimon wrong. So the Gemara, if Reuven makes a shvur of the value of this because Shimon's going to catch a ganev and bring and prove Reuven wrong. So what do we benefit that Reuven is the one who makes the shvur, the malva? So the Gemara, no. Where did it get stolen from? It got stolen from Reuven. Reuven knows who goes in and out of his house in that period of time, so he could go and chase those people and find the ganev. But Shimon, the loiva, has no idea who was in Reuven's house, and therefore it's much more rare for him to find the ganev, and therefore it's less of a chashash, and therefore it makes sense that we make the shvur on Reuven, because we choishish Reuven's going to get the ganev and prove Shimon wrong. So that's why we make Reuven make the shvur. Teretz number 1. Teretz number 2, Abaye says, Enochinami, Reuven makes a shvur she'eino b'reshusoi, but we still choishish if Shimon will make a shvur, the value of this pikodin, Reuven's going to bring out the pikodin, and we're going to tell him, hey, you just made a shvur that's on your reshus. He's going to say, yeah, I was cleaning for Pesach, and now I found it. I found it afterwards. It was lost, and now I found it. And then he won't contradict his shvur, but will contradict Shimon's shvur, the value. That's why we make Reuven make a shvur. That's teretz number 2. And teretz number 3 is Rav Ashi, a whole new pshat that Enochinami Reuven makes a shvur she'eino b'reshusoi. And when we said in the Brisa, Mi nishban, we said Reuven nishban, not Shimon. We didn't mean that Reuven nishban, not Shimon. We meant who makes first the shvur, because there's 2 shvurs here to be made. One shvur of Reuven she'eino b'reshusoi, and the second shvur of Shimon, how much the value he's a moedim miktas to make a shvur, how much the value of this pekodin was. And therefore, when the Brisa says that Reuven makes a shvur, it doesn't mean that Reuven makes a shvur, not Shimon. For sure, Shimon makes a shvur of moedim miktas, but it means who makes the shvur first. Reuven first makes a shvur she'eino b'reshusoi, and only afterwards we mechayev Shimon a shvur of moedim miktas. Because if we'll be mechayev Reuven, Shimon the shvur first of moedim miktas, maybe Reuven will straight away pull out the pekodin and prove Shimon wrong. That's why we mechayev Reuven to make the shvur first. So therefore, we have 3 terutzim on this brisa how to find for Rav Huna. Now we're going to start today's daf. Lamed. Says the Gemara, Rav Huna bar Tachlifa Mishmei de Rava Omar Reisha T'Seifa Tiyuv to Rav Huna. From the first case of the Seifa, it's a kasha on Rav Huna. Why? It says Selel Visinyo of Shimon comes to Reuven the Malva and tells him, you lent me a sela, Shtayim Hayashove, was worth double, now you lost it, pay me a sela. V'aloi oima, and Reuven says, Loiki, this is not true. Elo, Selo il V'sichol of Selo Hayashove was worth a sela, and I lent you a sela, and therefore now I lost it, so we equal. Don't owe you a penny. And it says, Potter, because it's a koifa koi. Being Misa de Rav Huna, if Rav Huna is right, that every Shoyim Pikodin, when something's lost and he's paying for it, he has to make shvur she'eino b'reshusoi. Migudim ishtaba malva she'eino b'reshusoi. Since he makes a shvur she'eino b'reshusoi, ishtaba nami a gilgul shvur kama yoshove. There's a din a gilgul shvur that wanted the shvur in the air that someone's chayiv, he could roll on him another shvur. So why can't we migalgalim on him a shvur? How much is kama yoshove? Very good, he's koifa koil, but since he's chayiv a shvur the eino b'reshusoi, let's do a gilgul shvur on him and say, and how much was the pikodin worth? Elomai lecher, Rav Huna is not correct, and you don't make a shvur she'eino b'reshusoi, and therefore he's koifa koil with no shvur, and that's why you're not mechayev him a shvur. Omar Rav Ashi, Amrisa l'shmaitze kamed Rav Kahana. I said this sugya in front of Rav Kahana. V'omar litehei b'ma'aminoi. It's talking about where Loiva Shimon believes Reuven that it's eino b'reshusoi. When Reuven says it's eino b'reshusoi, he believes him. He says, I trust you, it's eino b'reshusoi. So therefore Reuven doesn't have to make a shvur she'eino b'reshusoi because Shimon believes him, and therefore you can't do a gilgul shvur on him. Says the Gemara, if Shimon believes Reuven that's that means he trusts him. Why doesn't he trust him about the value of the Pikodon? Why on this he trusts and why he doesn't trust? So the Gemara, Shimon thinks Reuven is a trustworthy person, and he says, okay, Shimon, and therefore if Reuven tainas it's not in his Rishus, I trust him. But to say how much his Pikodon was worth, he doesn't know how much it's worth. It was never his. I gave it to him at Pikodon, he put it in his closet and it got stolen from there. He doesn't know the real value of this nice watch. So therefore I don't believe him. It's not because he's a liar, because he just doesn't know. Says the Gemara, if we're talking about people who trust each other, if Shimon trusts Reuven also trusts Shimon. So if Shimon, who knows it was his item and he says it was worth double, how is it that Reuven's not trusting Shimon? No, Reuven doesn't trust Shimon, Shimon does trust Reuven. Shimon, what's pshat here? It's a funny sugya. Shimon trusts Reuven. Reuven doesn't trust Shimon. Shimon trusts Reuven. Reuven doesn't trust Shimon. It's weird. What's happening over here? So the Gemara, yeah, it does make sense. It tells a pasuk. I'm going to read the whole pasuk. Tumas yisharim tanchem b'selef boigdim yoshtem. So the loiva is mekayim b'malve tumas yisharim tanchem, and it means that someone who goes straight, Hashem is going to give him ashirus. So if Reuven has money to lend Shimon, obviously he's a rich person, and obviously he goes derech Hashem. And that's why he trusts him. If he has richness, obviously he's a good person. And he trusts him. But Malva, Mikhaim Lebaloiv, at the end of the Pasuk, that someone who's a boygid, someone who's bad, Hashem takes away his possessions. Therefore, if he needed to borrow money, probably he was not the biggest tzaddik in town. If he's not the biggest tzaddik in town, I don't trust him. And therefore, it makes sense that Shimon trusts Reuven, but Reuven doesn't trust Shimon. So it's a new pshat in the sugya why in the Brisa, Reuven doesn't have to make a shvur she'eni b'reshusoi because Shimon trusts Reuven that it's not b'reshusoi. A new story. El Gavra, this man, Dafkid Kipi Gabi Chavrei, he gave some nose rings to his friend as a picodon to keep for him. Omale havle kipi, can I have my kipi back, my nose rings? Omale lo yadana eicho isvinu, I don't know where I put it, it's lost. Also, the Kamed Rav Nachman, he was a besdin. Omale kolo yadana pshiusi. If he said you lost it, it got stolen, okay, but he said you don't remember where you put it, that's a pshia. Zil shlim, go pay for the nose rings. Lo shilem, didn't pay. Other Rav Nachman went to Rav Nachman, Agbela Pandemine. He took away his house or something like that. He took away a possession that belonged to the shoima and he gave it to the one who owns the nose rings. Lasoi fishtakach kipi. At the end, months later or some time later, they found the nose rings. He cleaned up his house very well for Pesach. In the top corner of the closet, behind all the towels, he found the nose rings. The Iker. But now the price went up. The house that, let's say the nose rings are worth £100,000. And then when he lost them, he took away a property worth £100,000. But now when he found them, price went up and it's worth £200,000. Omar Rav Nachman, Adri Kipulu Marayu, the original owner of the nose rings, gets back his nose rings. The Adra Apanda Limora, and this property that was taken and given to him goes back to the original owner. We swap back. Omar Rav Abba Yasim Nekamid Rav Nachman. I was sitting in front of Rav Nachman and Prukin Amafkin Abba, and we were learning a mafkid like us. Rob and Rav Nachman were learning a mafkid, how great it is that us Jews, we look back 2,000 years and we see that we were doing the same things. We are part of a big link. And I told him, Akasha, it says Shilin v'lo rotzali shoba. It says in the Mishnah that if the shoyma paid, and if they want to make a shvuah, if koina the kefel, so over here, also the shoyma paid with this property. So he should also be koina the going up in price. He was koina the item. Now it went up in price. He should gain it. Why do we give back the nose ring that went up in price to the original owner? It's like the kefel in the Mishnah that goes to the shoyma. Why didn't the going up in price go to the shoyma? and he never answered me, he ignored me, says Rava. Says Rava, very good there, Rav Nachman never answered me, because it wasn't a kasha. My timer, what's the reason it's not kasha? Hosom, in our Mishnah, in a mafkid, lo yatrechele bedina. He didn't fight with the guy who gave him the Pikodin and fight and go to Besdin. He said, you know what, I lost your Pikodin, let me pay. Oh, you're being nice, you're being straightforward, you're paying, I'm makni you, and you'll be kind of the kefil. But Hocha, in the story of the nose ring, he didn't want to pay, and Betin had to force him to pay and take away his property. In such a case, I'm not makni him the item, for sure not. Okay, very good. Rava answered his teretz from the kasha over by us. Said the Gemara, Lememer the sover of Nachman the Shuma Oda. So this is a musik Shuma Oda, meaning Reuven took a loan of Shimon, £1 million, and now Shimon comes to claim, give me my money back, Reuven. Reuven doesn't have what to pay. So we take away a property of Reuven worth £1 million and we give it to Shimon. Now, meanwhile, Reuven made money back. Now he has £1 million and he wants to get his property back. Could he go to Shimon and say, listen, you took this property, keneged v'choiv, okay, I have money to pay off v'choiv, take the $1 million, £1 million, and give me back my property. That means Shuma Oda. And Shuma Lo Oda means, no, the Reuven can't do it. Once they take away his field and give it to Shimon, it's completely Shimon's. That's a shaila if Shuma Oda or not. So says the Gemara L'chorah, we could see Rav Nachman hold Shuma Oda, because they gave, in the case, they gave this apanda to the one who owned the nose rings as a payment for the choiv because he lost his nose rings. If they remember where he put it, and now he got the money, and now he could get it back. So L'chorah we could see Shuma Oda. So the Gemara shiny also the Shuma Batos have a keep you make car. Really, we could say Shuma Lo Oda. But in our case, it was a Shuma Batos, because when they gave him the property instead of the nose rings, it was a mistake, because the nose rings were really behind the towels in the top corner. And really they exist, and he has to give him back the nose rings. We didn't know that at the time. That's why he gave the property, but it was a mistake. Now I find out that really he had to give him back the nose rings, not property. So the whole thing was a mistake. That's why it's choiza. But in a normal case, maybe Shuma Lo Yehoda. And now we're going to go into the figure of Shuma Hoda or Lo Yehoda. Amri Nardoi says the people that are born from Nardoi, Shuma Oda Atre Sayarche Shata. That again, Reuven took a loan from Shimon and doesn't have what to pay, and now we took away a property of Reuven and gave it to Shimon. So until 12 months after they gave Shimon the property, Reuven could come back with the money and get the property back. That's what the Nardoi say, until 12 months. Says I know, I know. I come from Nardor. You saying something b'shem Nardor? I'm from Nardor. The Svirli and I hold Shuma Oda Loilo. Shuma, even 10 years, 20, 50 years later, he has money to pay the loan. He pay the loan back and get the property back. Hilchesan Aloche says the Gemara, Shuma Oda Loilom. Shuma always goes back, Mishum, and the reason is Shenemar, it says in the Torah of Siso Ayosher Atoiv, you should do the right and the good. You should do what's straight and good. And therefore, since this Malve took this, he never bought this karaka, it was just in Genta money. But really, this person who gave the karaka didn't want to give the karaka. It's his karaka that he got for Yerusha. That's his, and he has sentimental value to it. So he just doesn't have money to pay, so we take away his karaka. So once he has money to pay, the straight and the good thing to do is that he give the money and get the karaka back. Pshita, says the Gemara, Shomul ele Baal Choiv. Again, this case where Reuven took a loan from Shimon and didn't have what to pay back, and they gave Shimon a karka. They sham it to Shimon, but all that heal. And now Shimon owes Levi money, and he doesn't have money to pay. So he gave this karka to Levi. So to his Baal Choiv. And now Reuven has money, and he wants to get this karka back, but he goes to Shimon. Shimon says, sorry, I don't have this karka. I gave it to the choiv, because I had the choiv to Levi. It's by Levi. Amrina Lei, we tell Levi, Odif at, you're not stronger, Migavra the Osis Mina, you're not stronger from Shimon, like Shimon would have to give back this field. Also, you, Levi, have to give back this field. Because your whole koyach in this field was because of a choyb. So here, take your choyb back, give back the field. But if Zobna, if Shimon got a karka for his choyv, that someone owed the money and Reuben owed the money and it gave him a karka, and then Shimon sold it to Levi, or he was mourish to his kids. We have a Matona, he gave you a present to Levi, he didn't sell it to Levi, he gave you a present. In these cases, Vadai, Hani, Meikora, these people adapted Aranachus. When Levi got the present, or Shimon's kids got Yerusha, or Levi bought it off Shimon, they intention in this deal, what was their intention in this deal? Was a karka, they get a matana, or they bought a karka, they want a karka. There's no, now you're going to say, Yoshev Atoig, they'll have to give it back. This is what their intention, that they want to get money, they wanted the karka. And therefore, they don't care about the money, they want the karka, and therefore they don't have to give back this karka to the loiva. In such a case, where Shimon sold it on, or was Merishet or gave it the matana. Says the Gemara, another case. Isha. Someone owed money to a woman and he didn't have money to pay. So they gave the karka from the loiva to this woman, the insiba, and she got married. Isha owed money and she didn't have money to pay, and she gave the money to, instead of the money, she gave a karka to the Baal Choy. And she got married. Mesa. Some people are not going to Mesa. Baal benichse ishtoi, the husband who now got married to this woman, loikeach havi. He's like a loikeach. He's not considered like another Baal Choy, and therefore loy meheda. In the case where the isha was owed money, and they gave her instead of money a karka, and now she died, and now the husband's Yerusha. And now the loiva wants his karka back. He has money now, so he comes to the husband and says, I want my karka, here, take the money. No, loy meheda. He's like a loikeach. He's like he bought it off the woman. And in the case where the woman owed money and she gave karka instead of money, and now she got married, and now the husband wants to be moitzi from the lekuchas, here, take money, I want my karka of my wife back. No, you don't have that schus. The Omar Rabbi Yosi Bar Chanina. Rabbi Yosi Bar Chanina said, Be'usha was a place in Eretz Yisrael, and Sanhedrin, they were always in Lishkas Agozis, and then the Golus started in stages. Like today, first Simchas Torah, it gets worse and worse. It doesn't happen all in one bang. So first they were Goyle from Yerushalayim, they were in 10 different places, the Sanhedrin, and one of the places was in Usha. So over there they made a takona, Isha shemorcha benichse milug b'chai ba'alo. A woman who has nichse milug, it's karka that the goof belongs to her and the paris a Baal eats. And she sold the nichse milug b'chai ba'alo, she sold to someone else, and she told someone else, if my husband dies, it's all going to become yours before me. And if she dies, so let's see what's the din. Umeison, she died first. A Baal moitzi mad ala kuchois, a Baal is considered a loikeach. And Kilu, he bought it first from the Isha, and therefore he could be moitzit me'ad alakuchas, and it all goes to him. So we could see he's considered a loikeach. Agbe'iu b'choivoi. So until now, this whole shaila of Shuma Oda or Shuma Loy Oda was talking about where Bezdin, Reuven owed money to Shimon. Reuven didn't have what to pay. Shimon took Reuven to Bezdin, and Bezdin said, oh, Reuven, you don't have what to pay, we're going to take away your karka. But now we talk about a new case. Reuven didn't have what to pay, but instead of going to Bezdin, Reuven straight away told Shimon, you know what? I owe you $1 million. Take this property, it's worth $1 million, and leave me alone. Without Bezdin. Kligi borav acher ravuna. The machloikis, do you say over there Shuma Oda or not? Chadom ar hodro, v'chadom ar loy hodro. One says it is choizer like a normal Shuma and Bezdin, one says loy hodro. Man dom ar loy hodro sova hais vinim alyehi. Do midate de nafshei agbe. When do we say Shuma Oda? When Reuven didn't want to give this karka, and Bezdin had to force him because he owed money. But in the case where Reuven, in his own incentive, went and gave Shimon the karka, So it's basically he was selling him the karka. I owe you $1 million, take this instead. Basically he's saying take the karka, have nothing to do with the karka anymore. It's like a sale, and therefore you can't on a sale, you can't come back with the money and say I want my karka back. It's not like a sale. And that's why Reuven gave it, the reason why Reuven gave it to Shimon on his own will, and he didn't go to Bezdin, because he was embarrassed. He was embarrassed from Shimon. He didn't want to go to Bezdin, so that's why he gave it on his own will. But really, in no way he wanted to lose his karka. Now that he has money, he can get the karka back. Now it's a new shaila. When Bezdin said to Shimon, you could take this karka of Reuven, from when can you start eating the pears of this karka? So we have 3 shittas. Rabba Oma Mechimati Adrachte Leode. We had this before. Adrachte is a shtar after 90 days that we pass in the Reuven owes Shimon money. So Bezdin write a shtar Adrachte, and over there it says that any nechosim that belonged to Reuven up to £1 million, let's say the loan was £1 million, belonged to Shimon. So when he gets that shtar, from that day he's zoiche in the Paris. That's Shittas Rabbah. Abai Oma Eida B'chasuim Zocheloi. If in that shtar drachta was written earlier than when he actually got it, like Abai we had it earlier, the Eidin in the shtar already zoiche from that day before he got the actual drachta to his hands, from when the date of the drachta was signed. Rava says a much later day that even after you have a drachta and then you go and you find a field, Bezdin do like an auction to see, because Shimon says, I think this field's worth £100 and you still owe me more. So Bezdin do an auction and see who's going to pay the most for this field. And if Shimon is the one who's paying the most, we'll give it to Shimon. And only then he could start eating pears. Tell the Mishnah. This is an interesting case. Reuven rented a cow from Shimon, and then he lent it out to Levi. Again, let's explain a bit different. I think it will be easier. The owner of the cow was Reuven, and Shimon rented it from Reuven, and then after he rented it from Reuven, he lent it out to Levi. Now there's a difference between schirus and she'ela. Schirus, yichayev, gneva, it's a machloikis, but let's go there. You for sure potter for ointzim. And shoyel, yichayev for ointzim. Now Mesa Kedarka, now it died Kedarka by Levi. So Soicher's potter on that, Shimon's potter on that, but Levi's chayev on that. So it says in Mishnah, great chiddush. Ishova asoicha shemesa kedarka. Shimon will make a shvur to Reuven that died naturally, and therefore he's potter. V'ashoyel yishalem asoicha. And Levi, who's a shoyel, has to pay on mesa kedarka, will pay to the soicha. So it comes out that Shimon walks away with the animal, with the value of this animal, and he was only the renter, and Reuven doesn't get anything. Doesn't make sense. How can you make business in that way? He belongs to Reuven. How is Shimon walking around out with this cow and with this value of this cow? It makes no sense. Basically, Reuven tells Shimon, don't make me a shvur, don't patter yourself. Levi is chayev, he'll pay me, and he gets paid, and therefore Reuven gets back his cow. That's a Mishnah. Said the Gemara, Omale Rabbi Di Barabin La Abaye. Mechti, soicha b'may koni lahai pora. Soicha, when the soicha Shimon, who's a soicha, how is he going to this pora? What patters him from paying Reuven on the schirus that was Mesa Kedarka? The shvur. So by the shvur, him making that was Mesa Kedarka, that patters him, but that's the ptur of the shvur. V'neimale maskila soicha, l'chora Reuven should tell Shimon the soicha, Dal ant v'dal shvuasach, leave me, I don't want you and I don't want your shvur, don't make your shvur to patter yourself. I know mishtein adina ba'adei shoyel, and I'll go to Levi, who's a shoyel, who's chayav, and he'll pay me. So l'chora, what's pshat that lefi the shitta of Tanakama, the Shimon zoicha in this cow? Omale nisover es shoicha v'shvur dekoni lo, mishas niso dekoni lo, v'shvur kedei laf is daito shel balabais. Says Abaye, Goysa Chiddush. That the soicha, what patters him to pay back Reuven is not because he makes a shvur. That doesn't patter him. What patters him is because it's Mesa Kedarka and it's ointzim and the soicha is potter b'ointzim. Oh, so what the shvur about? The shvur is just to prove it. But the thing that patters him is that he died. And the died, once he died, that's it. He's potter. Just if it was Eidim, he doesn't even have to make a shvur. The only reason why you make a shvur is tilaf is tatush or balabais, but it's not that the shvur is the thing that patters, and therefore Reuben can't tell Shimon, oh, I don't need your shvur. No, because I'm potter from that I died kedarka. Said the Gemara, Omar Abzera, Pa'omim shabaylim mishamim kama poreks lasoicha. This is a very interesting case. A bit complicated, but very interesting case. There is a case where the bailim have to pay the renter a few cows. Let's see what's the case. Echidomi. So Reuven owes a cow. And Ogre Shimon rented it from him hayomi for 100 days. And now Reuven, after he rented to Shimon the cow for 100 days, he says, can you, from those 100 days that it's rented by you, can you lend it to me for 90 days? And Shimon's a nice guy, says, no problem. Now, in this point, if it's Mesa Kedarka, so what should be the din? So Shimon's potter, the Soichek, it's Mesa Kedarka, is potter bointzim. Reuven, who's like Levi in the Mishnah, who's a shoyel, not the Bailim, has to pay Shimon. So Shimon's owed a cow from Levi, who here it's actually Reuven, the same guy, it's the owner. And also, he only borrowed it for 90 days. There was still 10 days, they had to give it back to him for schurus. So he owes him 2 cows, 1 cow fully to Shimon, and another cow for 10 days for schurus. Let's continue. Other argument came after Reuven borrowed it for 90 days. Shimon told him, I need it. I'll pay you for 80 days. Give it to me for 80 days, I'm going to rent it off you. And then after he did that, now, Reuven came back to Shimon the Soicha and told him, I want to borrow from you again for 70 days. So let's go through the whole case. Reuven rented it for 100 days. Shimon rented it from Reuven for 100 days. Then Reuven borrowed it back for 90. Shimon rented it for 80. And then Reuven borrowed it again for 70. And now it's by Reuven. Umeisa, and it died by Reuven. The Toichi Meishe lost in those 70 days. So Feder Abzera, Reuven, who's the owner, will be chayav the one who rented off him 4 cows. 2 full cows, because there's 2 borrowing here, one of 90 and one of 70. On each one a full cow, because it's Mesa and Shoyel's Chai Bo'intzim. And also 2 cows for each one for 10 days, between 70 and 80, and between 90 and 100, they were still meant to be by Shimon as a rented cow. So 4 cows, that's basically our Mishnah. But instead of Reuven, Shimon, and Levi, it's Reuven and Shimon, it goes back to him, and it's a double case. And therefore you have to give him 4 cows, 2 fully, and 2 for rent. It's 1 cow, Eile Afka, it went in and out, Afka Mischurus, it went from Schurus, that went to Shimon, Eile L'Sheila, went to Reuven to Sheila, Afka Misheila, Eile L'Schurus. It's the same cow. Says Rashi, Ulinin Tashlumim Nami L'Shalem Le'Pora Achas, V'tamad B'mokom HaRishon, Tachas Shte HaSheilas, V'ti Shaloi, Achas Imsur Loi, Lasus B'Esrim Yoim. Hitain is very good for the 20 days, the 10 days, and 10 days of schurus. For sure, you should still give it back. But for the actual other 20 days, for the actual the cow that died, there is chayiv because it's Mesa Ba'ointzim and a shoyel's chayiv. You should give 1. It's the same cow. You should give 1. Why do you have to give 2? If the cow was here, you could say, here, this is the cow for the Sheila of 70 days. Then he takes it 10 days, and then he gets it back for Sheila 10 days, and then he gives it back at the same cow. But now that it's not existent, you have to pay for each Sheila and each Sheila. Marbar Avashi holds like the Kasha. Oma Elohim Elo Shtei Pearls, 2 cows. Choda de Sheila, 1 fully that goes to Shimon, the Soicha, for Sheila that died, and we don't have to give 2 twice of the Sheila because it was the same cow and he only has to pay one, like the Sheila of Rav Achim Medifter Ravina. V'chad the Schirus. And one for Schirus for 20 days. Shum Sheila Achasi, the Shum Schirus Achasi. It's one Sheila and one Schirus. The Sheila Koni Legarma, the Sheila belongs to Shimon the Soicha totally. The Schirus, the one of rental, Ovad Bei Mischirus, so Shimon could use it for 20 days in total. Mehat Elilimara, and then he has to give it back to Reuven. Very interesting case. Complex and interesting how if you want shitta, the owner pays the one guy who rented it 4 cows, 2 total and 2 for rental. Everyone should have a very blessed day and Sir Stovis. Amen.